Alright, good evening everybody. Let's get started, shall we? Apologies for the late start. As I said last week, we're having our kitchen redone at the moment. So there's lots and lots of things that haven't quite gone to plan with that. Let me just scooch this back over onto my other monitor. There we go. There's lots and lots of things that haven't gone to plan with the kitchen, which basically means that, especially when it comes to meal times, I kind of have to grab food as and when I can because it has to all be brought in from outside. So yeah, the next, probably the next stream, maybe the one after that as well, might end up being, I'll schedule them for 7, but it might be starting at like 1:15, 1/2 past, whatever. But I'll keep you guys updated as best I can on that. You'll have to excuse me as well because I've just eaten. I've got that thing where you have to keep clearing your throat. Anyway, welcome to tonight's stream. I have a couple of questions that I want to ask you guys before we get started because I've had a few frustrations with the game, and then we'll get into the stream proper. We are doing two things. Where am I with the... Yeah, we're doing two things tonight. We're technically doing one thing, and then if time permits, we'll be doing another thing. I will be ending at 2 hours tonight because I've got some other stuff that I need to get on with for the rest of my week's work. But yeah, let me ask these questions now. So for those of you who have downloaded, first of all, who has downloaded my map off M4Jmedia.com, and second of all, if you have downloaded the map, does your game ever crash with the error message? Let me remind myself what it was. There we go. Do you ever get the error message, assertion failed line 91, and then your game crashes? Or is it working okay for you guys? Those are the two questions. First of all, have you downloaded the map? Doesn't matter if you haven't, but if you have you experienced that crash? Because that's the one I keep experiencing, and I'm trying to find ways to solve it. And if you guys haven't experienced that crash, then it means all I have to do is like delete the OpenTTD, this version of OpenTTD, reinstall it, and then maybe it will work. I don't know. But yeah, while I'm waiting for that, do you know of any places on Earth similar to the geography/topography of your OpenTTD map? In terms of the size and scale of it, no. But in terms of the general layout, the UK. Basically, everything on this map is inspired by the UK. Town names, no. Yeah, town names, no. Although some of the town names we have now are inspired by real-life locations. But yeah, beyond that, no. Everything is inspired by the UK, including some of the... Not so much on this side, because this is new, so I've not UKified it yet. But on the west coast, particularly down towards Preybourne and places like that, that's mainly inspired by the sea wall at Dawlish. If you haven't seen that, if you're not from the UK and you haven't seen the sea wall at Dawlish, there is a webcam, live webcam. I'm trying to remember what it's called. I saw it in a video, and I really should have written it down. You can probably Google it and find it that way. But yeah, it runs right along the sea wall, along the west coast, well, southwest coast of England, down in Devon. Very, very spectacular. Apart from the fact that Voyagers can't run on it, so they have to use HSTs or 802s. I've got the map, not experienced the crash, though not played game proper. Oh yeah, that was the other thing I should have mentioned. Yeah, you have to unpause the game. The game has to run for the error to happen. Downloaded it, and so far it's been not crashing, but I've used it for maybe an hour because I've been very busy with school plus internship and playing my own maps too. Yeah, this is kind of the answer I thought most people would say, because I pause the game when I build, so I'm assuming when you guys build, you do the same thing. But yeah, I'm really scratching my head on what the issue is, because it's the actual error is assertion failed at line 91 in tile_map.h, I think is the name of the file, and I've gone into the source code and I've looked at that file, and I've looked at line 91 within that file, and it's something to do with map size. It's like tile size equals, or tile size is greater than something, and that seems to be where the error's coming from, and I don't get what that has to do with anything, because I used to get the error when 2 trains crashed on my network, and I know it's something to do with trains, because my way of getting around it, as it were, is when the error happens, reload the previous save and immediately send all my trains for servicing, because it resets their pathing when you do that, and then that takes me past the point of the original crash, but then the crash happens again sometime further down the line. It's not 191, it's just 91. Assertion failed in line 91 in tile_map.h. But yeah, it's again, my coding isn't the greatest, but from what I can tell, line 91 is what's the word? I had it in my head a second ago and I've completely forgotten what it was. It denotes something, basically. So it's assigning, that's the word. It's assigning a value to a function. So it shouldn't, it's not calling upon a function or anything like that, from what I can tell. It's just assigning a value to a function. So I can't think what that has to do, A, with trains on the network, and B, why that would then cause the game to crash. Actually, let me see if I can find the exact, rather than just guessing. If you go on GitHub and search for Keldor Catan, I'm assuming that's Lieutenant Joker's name on GitHub. And then if you go into the source folder, and then you scroll right the way down to T, tile_map.h, that is the name of the file. Line 91 is, I'll paste it in the chat so you guys can see. It's that. Assert tile less than map size, and then no value in the center there. Line 92 returns something from line 91. So it's like an if kind of thing. That's line 92. And it all comes under the function of static inline tile type, get tile type, tile index, tile. Again, I'm starting to learn what these things are. It's, again, the engineer's guide to coding. You assign a value to a letter or a phrase or something like that, and then later on in the code you will recall that. What's the word? You know, you have that thing where you just forget every word in the English language. I had to do this when I was doing my web coding. So you spend like the first 60 lines of your code just allocating values to different features, and then you recall those features in later functions. So it saves you time, basically, because then you can just type in the name of the function rather than having to put the value in each time. Also means if you change the value for whatever reason, you don't have to go through each individual time where it appears and change the value there. You can just, call up the value. But it's a real mystery. I can't get my head around it. I've spent a lot of this week trying to fix software issues, which I won't dwell on right now because I could spend the whole 2 hours just bitching and whining about that. But I've spent like the second half of this week trying to fiddle around with OpenTTD. First of all, trying to fix that crash, which I've not been successful with. Secondly, trying to access the source code for BR Trains, the new GRF, so that I can add in a custom livery. And I did ask on Discord for some help with that. No one replied, which I'm a little bit annoyed about, because I think that's rude. Even if you don't know the answer to the question, to just ignore it is, I don't know, I don't like it when people do that. I'm a very pedantic person when it comes to things like that. It's like being left on red, basically. But yeah, it doesn't look like what I thought the new GRF... It doesn't look like how I thought it worked, basically. There's a lot of deep-lying code. And just to get the decompiler to access the PNG files it's not as cut and dry as I thought it was. It's very frustrating. I like fixing puzzles, and I hate it when I get this feeling that I can't fix the puzzle. So that's what looks like has happened now. But again, I'm always asking if people are able to help, even if you have no experience with the BR Trains GRF. If you just know GRFs, because I don't. So I didn't even know, for example, that new GRFs were written in different languages. I assumed it was all the same language. Even if it's not the same language as the game was being coded in, I just assumed that because they all work in the game, there must be some standardized language that's used. But nope, there's lots of different ones, and all the ones that I was getting pointed to, things like GRF codec and things like that to decompile it, that's not what BR Trains was written on, so that won't work. Because I tried decompiling it and I got 2 files and I couldn't use either of them. Why did I build the line this way? I don't know why I did that. Half the line is going to go this way, but not all of it. So yeah, it's been a fun time at M4J Towers trying to get all this stuff to work. It's been really fun. So yeah, I'll do my usual trick. If anyone knows how to get around these problems, please do get in touch. Did you ask in the r/OpenTTD Discord or your own? I asked on my own Discord, first of all. I just asked if anyone had any experience working with new GRFs. I've not asked on the OpenTTD one yet. I will be doing that in the not too distant future. I was kind of hoping to get in touch with the guy who made it, but because it's been discontinued for various reasons, I didn't think it'd be appropriate to start harassing the original creator. Yeah, BR Trains is in NML. How do you... Okay, this is where I'm going to sound really dumb, because I went on the OpenTTD wiki and I looked at the new GRF tools, and I found out that yeah, it's NML, but I couldn't find a download for NML. GRF. I'm searching now. Activating, no. What did I search for to get the right page? I think it was like OpenTTD new GRF decompiler or something like that. There we go. That's what I searched for. Development tools. So yeah, NML. So I went on the NML page, and there's a whole thing about NML, but there's a GitHub page that I didn't go on. That would be where it is. But I think I'm going to need to recruit someone who knows what they're doing. Oh, okay. See, I didn't know that. So I might just pose the question. I'm assuming that will be in the development page area, chat. That's the word I was looking for. In the development chat. Well, yeah, all I want really is access to the PNG files, or XCL. Was that the file? XCM, XCL. So I can open it up in GIMP and just create a custom M4J rail livery. That's what I want to do. That's what I want access to. So it's nothing too difficult, I don't think. Because even if I can't get the liveries in game, I would still like to be able to make them for my Patreon supporters. So I think it's, you know, it's always a cool thing to be able to see something that you've created in a game. I'm very fortunate in that I'm currently making a game, so or I'm part of a team, sorry, that's making a game. So I am getting to see a lot of my creations. It's also nice if you're a fan of a YouTuber or a content creator. I hate that word YouTuber. If you're a fan of a content creator and you help out with something, it's always nice to see your work in the videos and in the game. Development channel would be the appropriate place to ask. Liveries require a bit of coding as well. Yeah, I think I mentioned this, was it last week? I showed you the Football Manager Hatfield kit, and I gave my theory as to what I think you have to do to get it to work. I don't think I was right with that prediction though. Because my theory was you create an image file, and then let's say I did it for the class 319. I then went into the class 319 code and just said, you know, for the livery choices, load up all the previous files, obviously, but also include this one. That's what I thought it was, but I think there's a lot more to it than that. That's kind of why I asked the question on my Discord, has anyone actually worked with GRFs before? Even if they couldn't help me specifically with the problem, I just want to get my head around what it actually involves. Because I've got some ideas for some new GRFs. I don't think I've got the ability to actually make them, but I'd like to pitch them to the right person and see if they can get it into the game. One of the things I really want, and I think a lot of my viewers would want this as well, is for someone to come along, either to pick up where I'm going to call it BROS, but BROS, pick up where that left off, or at least fill in the gaps for BR trains, because it's the class 170, I think. Where are we? And I'm sure this is a bug, and it has been reported, but it never got fixed. The class 170 Turbo Star. These are all the liveries that it supposedly comes in. Central Trains, London Midland, 1, ScotRail, ScotRail Saltier, Southwest Trains, First ScotRail, blah 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 blah. All the ones that the 170 is operated on over its lifetime. And yet when you buy the train, only the Central Trains livery is actually available. That's a bug. In my opinion, that is a bug. And I'm very careful when I use the word bug, but to me that feels like a bug. And it's, as I said, it's something that's been reported, but because the support on the new GRF has been discontinued, it's never been fixed. So that's the first thing I'd like to amend, is to get that livery, or to get all the proper liveries into the game. Because I think they have been created, they've just not been assigned to the train. So I used to check the development Google spreadsheet quite a lot, and there was new trains constantly being added to that, and then they never got added into the game. But as I say, I get it, the fact that, you know, things happen in life and sometimes you have to stop development on certain things. I totally understand that. I'm not criticising the creators of the new GRF at all. It's just a shame that it never got finished. Did I tell you what we're actually doing today? I don't think I did. So this is the Southern Mainline. Hasn't been given a name yet, as you can tell. We're going to be continuing building this today. So currently, this was its terminus point. There will be trains that terminate here from time to time. We need a name for this station as well. Something grand and like Boardwalk or something like Tondington Boardwalk. Something that makes it sound like it's near the sea, even though it's technically a little ways away from the sea. I've got so many messages coming up on my phone as well. Yes, YouTube, I know I'm live. Thank you for that. So yeah, we're going to be continuing building this today. The line from Bahecity is this one here, and then they are meant to meet. In fact, this is the line that used to be the one that runs along the south coast, but was it 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago now, maybe even longer, we decided to continue running along the coast instead. This is going to be the line from Bahecity, which is going to branch off just south of Bahecity. Oh yeah, that station on your spreadsheet, not spreadsheet, PowerPoint, George, was this one, Fort Dronford. That's the one where Transrapid currently terminates, so you can add that to your presentation now. But yeah, we're going to try and get this main line as close to our final destination as possible. This line here is a little idea that I had for a branch line, just to connect up to here. So it's kind of from Tondington, you can loop up and around this way and head up towards Bahecity, just for a little commuter. Causeway is a good name for it as well. Feel free to come up with ideas in the chat as the stream goes on. We're not going to be renaming it this week, so any suggestions welcome. And it does fall outside the Patreon remit, so I'll allow it, basically. I had some suggestions this week for Patreon, and I was a bit harsh because they're good suggestions, but at the same time, I've always had it in my head where if someone supports me on Patreon, they get access to their tier rewards, no problem. But when that person then starts coming up with ideas for Patreon, it's almost like stepping over a line kind of thing. Have I ever had viewers on Twitch and YouTube at the same time? No, I haven't. I've considered it. There's a big stream that I'm planning in the not too distant future, which Josh, who's a long time viewer, is preparing something for. And for that, because, okay, 1,000 subs is a YouTube thing, but for a while, Twitch helped me get big. So I'm trying to remember when it was now. I think it was like September 2013. No, 14. I think it was September 2014. I started streaming on Twitch for the first time, and I started streaming Space Engineers, and literally in a day I went from 0 to 100 and something followers on Twitch because of Space Engineers. I just happened to pick a really good time to stream that game. So I owe a lot to Twitch as well. I don't use Twitch much now because I kind of like the idea that YouTube has of you stream and then it gets uploaded as a video. You can still do that on Twitch. You can export a stream onto YouTube. It doesn't always work. But yeah, I might stream concurrently on both Twitch and YouTube at the same time when I do that big stream. But I don't know when that's going to be yet because, as I said, things are a bit chaotic here at the moment. It will be soon. I'd like to think it will be before Christmas. If it won't be before Christmas, then it might end up being on my birthday, which we all know is the 22nd of January. You don't need to get me a card or anything, it's fine. But it'll be sometime in the next month or two, because obviously 1,000 subs is something you want to celebrate. As small a number as it might seem to some people, it is huge to those who actually achieve it. So there will be something. And I'll be playing all the games on the channel that have helped me get big. I say big, I'm tiny still. You know what I mean. Things like OpenTTD, Train Simulator, Cities in Motion, 1 and 2. I didn't do a series on 1, but I loved the game. And that's what made me buy 2, which then got me popular. So I'll be doing that. Plus Space Engineers, for obvious reasons. I've just explained it. Azumers have started running to Aberdeen. Yes, they have. Rail news, that's a good subject to talk about while we're doing this. So I posted this on my Discord yesterday as well. We had a whole conversation about it. The West Coast franchise that was won by First Group and Trenitalia, they've come up with a name for it, and I don't like it, but I want to hear what you guys think. I already know what a couple of people think, but I'll pitch it to you guys as well. I'll tell you what it is first, and then I'll explain why I'm not a big fan of it. So they've gone with the name Avanti, A-V-A-N-T-I, which in Italian means... Does it go forward? Again, I googled this yesterday. Avanti, Italian to English. It means come on, but I think it also means like go forward, go ahead, things like that. That makes literally no sense though, because they've called it Avanti West Coast or Go on West Coast or Forward West Coast. But depending on how you translate it, it either makes sense like Go on West Coast, or it makes no sense like Forward West Coast. What the hell does that mean? And my problem is this: when Virgin won the franchise for both the East Coast and the West Coast, they used the Virgin name, so everyone immediately knew Virgin. Virgin had been around for a long time before they entered the rail industry, so people recognized the name immediately. in terms of the rail industry, people recognise First. You know, First Great Western, First Capital Connect, First ScotRail. That's a name that's been around for a long, long time. And yes, they've now partnered up with Trenitalia, but I think it should have been an English-sounding name because it's brand familiarity. And Avanti, like I said, it can be mistranslated, so you don't get what the company actually is. Or even if you do get what the company is, it just feels a bit like an invasion almost. Like the Azumas as well. In English, Azuma means nothing. In Japanese, Azuma actually has a meaning and it makes a lot of sense. So I don't want to sound like a things should be British and nothing else kind of person, because believe me, I am not that kind of person. But in this instance, I think they needed to choose a name that made more sense to the average commuter. And Avanti just doesn't really do it for me. Plus, it won't be long before something goes wrong on that franchise, and then the name will be dragged through the mud anyway. So even if they wanted a little bit of a change to try and disassociate themselves from mistakes of the past, it won't be long before that all goes to pot anyway. Have I ever taken a parliamentary train? You don't have to put what these things mean in brackets, James. I do know what a parliamentary train is. No, not to my knowledge. I don't think I've been on one. Because I tend to, as I say, I go from where I live to London, and there's no parliamentary trains on this line. So, not off the top of my head. Maybe when I've journeyed up north. Oh, actually, I might have done, thinking about it. I think I might have got a... Because I don't know the timetables up north. So I might have gotten a parliamentary train once when I was up there. But yeah, in all honesty, I actually have no idea. A couple of people have said LMS. That might have been on the table. It might have been on the table. I think the problem with that is because LNER is back in existence now, too many people might have just gone, oh, it's the races to the north again. And again, I said all this on Discord yesterday. It's just got to do with name association, for me at least. And the point I was going to make with Virgin was Virgin West Coast. I think Virgin had, I think it was 30% of the franchise belonged to Virgin, and then the other 70% belonged to Stagecoach. But they went with the Virgin name. And then when East Coast, Virgin East Coast started, Virgin only had 10% of the shares in the company, and Stagecoach had the other 90%. But they still went with Virgin because it was the easiest, like it was the most recognizable name out of the two. And you know, they trust the brand, and everyone really likes Virgin. Everyone likes Virgin. The name Virgin. They might not like the. Oh, we're at Bruntford. I've just realised we've reached the end of the line. I'm doing all this bulldozing for nothing. They might not have liked the service by the end of Virgin, but they liked the name. It's Branson. You know, most people like Branson. I think he's alright. So by name association, that was a really smart business decision. Whereas this one, it kind of feels like Trenitalia owned the bulk of the franchise, so they've just gone, we choose the name. And I don't know. I don't know too much about it. That's the thing. I don't know the company's shares or anything like that. I'm assuming here. But it just feels like Trenitalia have taken control. And I don't have a problem with them being involved because they're very good at running high-speed rail. So I think that was a no-brainer, getting them involved. But letting them have the name, I don't know. That might backfire on them. We shall see. What would be an example of one? How do you mean, Ben? What would you consider the weirdest rail service in OpenTTD and in real life? In real life... Good question. Good question. On OpenTTD, I'm going to have some very wacky rail services in the not too distant future. I've already started planning a couple of them out. In real life, though... I suppose not crazy as such, but unconventional. are some of the rail services that they're now running along heritage railways, community rail services, that kind of thing. I always feel like they're a bit out there, should we say. Very good. It's nice to see these heritage lines actually being used, and I hope they're getting the money they deserve for that. But in terms of, let's say, being unconventional, they're definitely on the list. What am I going to build here station-wise? Something big and grand. This maybe? Yeah, I could fit a couple of these in. Boom, boom. Let's put 3 of those. And then 1 of these. I think we'll just go with 1 of those. And that. I don't mind Avanti as a name. Brand association hasn't seemed a big deal in the UK recently in general. Many franchises just use a unique name without any reference to actual operators. That was kind of my point though, was name association. So Southwestern Railways, you know straight away they run trains to the southwest. East Midlands Railway, West Midlands Railway. What are the other ones that have used railway? I think that's all of them for now. There are some more coming in the future. And then you've got Greater Anglia, you know straight away where they're running. But then you have Avanti, and okay, the full name is Avanti West Coast, but everyone will just call it Avanti. Whereas Virgin Trains, yes, there's no name association with actually where they run and who. Hang on, I had a really good point and I'm forgetting it as I'm talking. There's no name association with where the trains run, but because it's Virgin, people in the UK do trust it, because Virgin is a trusted brand in the UK, or it was back in the day. Not so much now for lots of different reasons. The logo looks awesome, and the livery is quite nice, particularly on the Pendolino. Again, I said this on Discord yesterday. It looks like they've actually designed the livery for the train, rather than they've designed the livery and then tried to cram it onto a train. So I like that. I think that's a really smart move. Too many artists designing train liveries now and not really thinking about the shape of the train that they're designing it for. Not so much white on the train body again. Have you ever heard of the bus replacement rail that Tom Scott talked about? Yep, there was a road. They were doing resurfacing or some kind of thing to the road, and there was a little narrow gauge railway that ran alongside it that ran bus replacement services or rail replacement services. The opposite of what you'd expect. It's not a bus replacing a train, it was a train replacing a bus. There was one, was it him that did one about the guy who had a toll road as well? I think that was a Tom Scott video, it might not have been. That was a good video as well, I'd check that one out if I were you. What am I doing? I'm building a station. How long is it going to be? 1, 2... I think I'll make this 6 tiles, so here we'll have the ends like so. Although I think I've made this platform a bit too long, but never mind. And then I'll go with the single-sided. Oh yeah, I was an absolute klutz this week. So the XVI podcast is back for those of you that aren't aware. Episode 15 should be going up tomorrow, providing Premiere lets me render it, of course. And I scheduled, like the professional that I am, scheduled a podcast recording for 8 o'clock tonight. And if anyone here can work out why that was a bad idea, you'll know how I felt yesterday when I suddenly looked at my calendar and realised I had 2 conflicting events. TfL have started running a couple of trains between Reading and Paddington, using the 345s ahead of taking over the stopping trains. Yep, I mentioned that on Discord yesterday as well. That's a confusing one though, because they're TfL rail branded trains. Obviously they're the 345s, Crossrail trains, and they're running what is going to become next month a TfL rail service. But because the switchover hasn't happened yet, so the 15th of December is supposed to be the first day of operations, I believe. But it's a bit like what they did with the Javelins back in 2007. No, 2008. before the services started in 2009 anyway, they had a little preview service, which kind of caught people by surprise because suddenly there was this new train. And that's what they're doing now with TfL Rail. So the Crossrail trains are currently running the services between Paddington and Reading, and also Paddington to Maidenhead. So everyone thinks it's TfL Rail, but they're technically still running GWR services. So people at Reading were waiting on the platform for a train painted green to arrive, and then had a really bemused look on their faces when a train painted purple arrived, but it's still a GWR service. So there's no real clue, because even the platform signage and stuff, some of them said TfL Rail, some of them said GWR, some of them said neither. It's very confusing. I can see why, because if you're a rail enthusiast, you know these things, but if you're just a general commuter, you don't know that TfL Rail have started preview services early. So you turn up expecting to get on your usual train and sit in your usual seat, and then a different train rolls in, and that must really mess with your mind when that happens. You must be just sitting there thinking, what is this? So yeah, I could see where confusion would have come in, but it's cool that they're actually running these preview services, because it means that they've got their asses in gear for a change and are actually almost ready to start the full services. They still haven't got the tunnels ready though, from what I can tell there. That's going to be even later than they keep saying it's going to be, which isn't very good. I'm just building a little crossover here. Basically I want the slow lines now to be on the north side of the site here. So I'm going to run you under there, you under there, trim you, and then you are going to go like this, and fly over like that. Now that is how you're supposed to do a flyover, to swap fast lines and slow lines. I really like doing it on a curve because you get that nice effect. What are some good aspects that you had in your previous OpenTTD maps but don't have in this map? There aren't any, is the short answer to that. Everything that was good in the old maps has been included in this one. And actually, one of the things, when I was creating my downloads page for the new website, I had to go back in the old maps to get screenshots, which you can see on the downloads page now. And I don't recognize, not so much as in, oh, I forgot I built that kind of thing, but I genuinely don't recognize my building style or what it used to be, because it's so different now to what it used to be. It's like someone else built it. So really it's the other way around. What exists on this map that didn't exist on the old one? And I mean, the short answer to that is the designs are a lot better. Here the station designs are a lot better, the track designs, junction designs, the fact that I use programmable signals now, so trains actually run to the right places rather than having waypoints everywhere trying to dictate where trains do and don't run. We didn't have the speed limits back then, the realism initiative, so that is something that exists on this map that didn't exist prior. But besides that, yeah, everything that was good about the old maps is on this map. Hopefully that answers the question. Let's do this actually. There we go. Get rid of you. So I need to extend this platform, and I need to extend this platform. Yeah, quite happy with that. I'll build another little crossover here as well, even though it's probably never really going to get used. We'll need a name for this station as well, Pruntford something or other. And no, that's not a suggestion. And then I'll build a nice station building across the back. I kind of like this design, because we've used it already further down the line, so it's like a standardized design. Quite like that. Alright, done. Now we can signal all of this, and then we can build. It's me just dithering, deciding what I'm going to do. Then we can build the stations here. What would you consider the most confusing rail service in OpenTTD and in real life? I Okay, because this got mentioned in the TFL Rail video, Jeff Marshall's video that I watched the other day, so I'll bring it up here. It's something not many people know about. So when you have a slow service, so from Reading to Paddington, there's fast trains, like the GWR 800s and 802s, and then there's semi-fast trains, like the GWR 387s. I think they're 387s. And also what the Turbo Stars used to do. And then you have the slow trains, which some of them are going to be GWR still, but the majority of them are going to be replaced by TFL. So the fast train says this train is for London Paddington. The semi-fast train says this train is for London Paddington. And yet the slow train will say something like this train is for West Harrow. And it's designed that way to make commuters get on the fastest train available, because you might, if you're in Reading for example, you might just get on the first train that goes to Paddington, particularly if you're not in a hurry, and then you just grab a seat and away you go. But those trains get packed as they get closer to London because they stop at every station, so they try and eliminate the number of people who get on at Reading so that there's more space at Southwold, is it? South something, where the train then stops. So they advertise the train as not going to Paddington. So if you are at Reading and you know that train's going to Paddington, you will of course still get on it. But if you don't know that it's going to Paddington, you won't get on it. You'll get on a fast train instead. So there's little quirks like that in the network that they do. We can't do that in OpenTTD because obviously it just chooses the last station on the list, and that's where it's going to. Yeah, besides that, confusing. What are the confusing ones? I suppose from Exeter St David's as well, you can have trains leaving in both directions that go to London. One goes to Waterloo, one goes to Paddington. That must be quite confusing, because then you're kind of standing on the platform saying, well, which way is London? And I think it's because it's actually like a north-south. I think St David's is a north-south orientation. It might be east-west, but then it loops back on itself at some point. Pruntford Riverside. Well, this is the coast. This isn't really a river. Maybe we'll call it Pruntford Avanti in dedication to the new West Coast services. That's a terrible idea. We probably shouldn't do that. But yeah, how many people did know about that little thing with they don't advertise where the train's necessarily going to? Eventually, I think it's when you get to like Slough, it will start saying this train is for Paddington. But I found that really interesting. They use that a lot at Waterloo, and particularly on the southwestern routes. So there's the Waterloo Loop. So it goes out past Wimbledon down to where is it? It goes past Twickenham and places like that, and it loops back on itself. But obviously if you're standing at Waterloo and there's a train that's going to Waterloo, that will confuse the hell out of you. So they advertise it as going to Thameslink do this as well actually. You have the Thameslink trains that go to Wimbledon or they go to Sutton, but actually it's the Sutton loop. So if it says it's going to Sutton, I think that's going clockwise around the loop, whereas if it says it's going to Wimbledon, then it's going anti-clockwise. Southeastern do it as well with the Javelins. If you get a train to Dover, or I think Ramsgate is the other one, once it gets to, let's use Dover as an example. So if you go to Dover directly from St Pancras International, once you get to Dover, it will form a train to St Pancras, but it will run round the loop via Ramsgate. Whereas if you go to Ramsgate, once it gets to Ramsgate, it will form the train to St Pancras via Dover. So you've got a clockwise and anti-clockwise direction being ran. And it is clever, because it's designed to make passenger congestion at a minimum. Hounslow Loop as well. Yeah, there's probably lots. These are the ones that I've particularly ridden on, so they're the ones that I know. So I've been to see Steamage play Brentford a couple of times. And because I'm the only one who likes railways, it's my job to get everyone to and from the station. And that's when I first found out about this kind of system. Was we got to Waterloo, and I was just looking for a train back to Waterloo because I knew it was a loop. And then you find out actually it doesn't say Waterloo on the the sign, it says something completely different, and then you have to look. That's where the National Rail app comes in really handy, because it tells you where your train is going to, as well as all the stops that you're not actually getting off at. Doing a really bad job of explaining this, but it's a very clever system. London Underground has the passenger sign thing as well, where you can follow what looks like the wrong direction and end up where you actually need to be. If you're in the know, you find all these little shortcuts. Leeds to York via Harrogate does the same. Yep. Yep. Going to Cambridge from Nottingham via Leicester is super confusing. Both trains head north before curling around onto the Ely route. The railway around Cambridgeshire is a total mind-boggling experience for me, because you can go out of Liverpool Street, you can go to Stansted, Cambridge, Ely, but then from Cambridge you can go to Ely, Stansted and Peterborough. But to my knowledge, Stansted is south of Cambridge, so there's a triangle junction that connects to Stansted, which I already knew about. But it's the bits where from Ely you can go to Peterborough, but you don't go on the same route that the trains from Cambridge to Peterborough go on. There's a whole different Cambridge to Peterborough route and an Ely to Peterborough route. And then once you get to Peterborough, there's a million places you can go to. You can go to Nuneaton, you can go to Lincoln, you can go to Grimsby. How the hell did they do all this? And the simple answer is competing rail companies back in the day. They all had their different routes to and from. And then when it all came under BR or LNER, they didn't simplify it very much. But to look on a map at all the different ways to get on a train around Cambridgeshire, it's incredible. So many different routes. So my ex-girlfriend lived in Ely, and she went to uni in Crewe. So we were trying to find like the easiest way to get from Ely to Crewe, and it takes you, I think it's to Peterborough and then via Nuneaton, and then you get on West Coast up to Crewe. But because we were trying to find not just the quickest way but also the cheapest way, there's like 10 different ways that you can get from Ely to Crewe on a train. They all require changes at different places. Some go via Birmingham, some go via Manchester, which is way north of Crewe, by the way, for those of you that don't know. So you're going completely in the wrong direction in order to get to the right place. And then, like, the simple explanation is you're going north and then heading west. And there's so many different ways you can travel west from north and vice versa. I looked at, when I was in Amsterdam, I looked at some of the departure boards at Amsterdam Central, and that looks like one of those ones where you can go in either direction and end up in the same place because the lines diverge and join up again. Like, Central's built on a giant loop, isn't it? And then the loop continues around to the other side, and I've forgotten the name of the station there now. So yeah, it's just one of those things. We don't have any mainline stations in London that are built on loops. They're all either terminuses, or in the case of London Bridge, they go through either north to North London or up to like Charing Cross, which is then a terminus. So I don't personally have that experience. But actually Newcastle Central is a good example, because you can depart east or west out of Newcastle and head south to London. It just depends on which way your train is routed. Why did I do... Oh yeah. So we've built the first connection now down to Bruntford. This line here does still need to be changed and tweaked a little bit for the realism initiative. Some of it, like this curve here, I could probably just use waypoints, shorten this tunnel, and that won't be an issue. This section here is pretty much okay. This crossover here, actually I might keep that. That's not a bad place for a crossover, because there's enough space for the waypoints either side of it, so that shouldn't be too bad. East Midlands has to go to Ely, but Greater Anglia can go direct Cambridge to Peterborough. Yeah, cross country as well run that way. They run on a route that is exclusively served by cross country trains only, and it's is it Liverpool Lime Street to Stansted Airport service. Or I think they have one that goes to Norwich as well. And Norwich is another one. There's two routes to Norwich. There's the Greater Anglia route from Liverpool Street, and then there's the Cambridge to Norwich route as well, which technically goes via Ely. So once you get to Ely, there's, I think, 3 lines to the north and 2 to the south. And I didn't know this until I got a train to Ely for the first time. Getting there was easy because I changed at Stevenage and it took me straight to Ely. Getting back was the hard bit because you have to make sure you get on the right train because you can end up anywhere. So this site here is going to be the location of our junction, I think, because Bahecity, actually no, Rinningley Market is there. Bahecity's further north. Yeah, Bahecity's here. So this section here, Rinningley Market, and then we're going to have the junction. Actually, we should have the junction closer. We're going to build the junction closer. We're going to have 2 tracks here that come out and then go east. So I'm just going to rebuild this as a slightly wider curve. You could do it out of Birmingham New Street. Do you know of any places where you get on a train at some station and the train goes non-stop to the same station? Yep, Northern Line, Kennington. You can, if you're on the Charing Cross branch, well, this will change in the not too distant future when the new branch to Battersea opens. But currently, Charing Cross trains terminate at Kennington, and then you go around what's called the Kennington Loop. So the new line to Battersea actually will branch off the Kennington Loop, and I think all Charing Cross trains will then go to Battersea, so this won't exist anymore. But you can stay on the train at Kennington and you go around the loop back into the northbound platform at Kennington. So it's not National Rail, so it doesn't technically count, but in that instance, it kind of counts. Amsterdam Central isn't technically a loop, it's more of a split and merge. There aren't curves from the west branch that connects Central to Schiphol. So the line coming from, oh god, my pronunciation, Zuid. I know it means south. I know it means south. I don't know how you pronounce it. I heard someone pronounce it when I was in Amsterdam, and I didn't know that's what they were saying to begin with. I really want to learn different languages, but I just don't think I've got it in me. I used to speak French and Spanish, and I used to speak, I mean, French I was really good at, Spanish I was average at best, but I really want to learn these languages again, because it's respectful in many ways. You know, I shouldn't have to go to countries and expect them to speak English. I should be able to speak their language. But, I mean, Dutch and German, it's almost like, with the greatest of respect, German especially, it's almost like something I would scream as I'm falling down some stairs. Dutch is a lot nicer than German in my opinion. But as I say, it is just my opinion. Okay, so we're going to have a 2-track line that comes out of Rinningley Market, and that's what's going to head down towards Pruntford. So this will be sort of semi-fast type line. It's not necessarily going to be an all-stopper, but it's also not going to be full steam ahead, if that makes sense. And I need to do a lot of bulldozing to make this happen. Also, I think this town grew not long after I changed the new GRF for towns. That's why all the buildings here look really different to Guard City. Wow, I'm going to have to do a lot of bulldozing. I'm just going to do that. Make life a little easier. And I apologise, by the way, if there are any Germans who watch my stream. I'm not insulting the German people at all. Pretty much everyone I've met who is from Germany, I should say, has been very nice. It's just the language can be very aggressive at times. Very aggressive. Isn't there like a meme? It's like butterfly in all the different European languages, and then it gets to German, and it's just like someone shouting it at you. I'm going to stop talking now before I dig myself into a massive hole. But yeah, learning other languages, that's something I'd like to do. Right, connect these up. Like so. There's going to be a bit of a junction going on here. We'll have to do some signalling for these platforms to make it easier for trains to navigate. Yeah, that'll do for now. Cross country run Birmingham to Stansted and East Midlands Rail, Liverpool to Norwich. Oh yeah, the cross country service from Liverpool to Norwich got replaced, or it's going to get replaced. No, hang on. The Liverpool to Norwich service is going to be transferring to a different franchise, I think, or it's going to be severed, something like that. Something's changing. Be split at Nottingham soon. Maybe that's what I read. Do you know of any points that connect the London Underground to the National Rail network? Yes. London Overground connects to the Bakerloo line at Stonebridge Park, I think it is, and then runs all the way up to Harrow and Wealdstone. London Overground also connects with the District line between Putney Bridge and Wimbledon, and I think also to Richmond. Actually, I think it's Putney Bridge to Richmond that I'm thinking of. Butterfly is just in general an amazing word. It has a completely different name in basically all European languages. Yeah. See, for me, I like Spanish more than I like French, but I can speak French better than I can speak Spanish. It's just one of those preference things. Like when I was at school, I got an A* in my French-speaking exam, but I only got, I think it was a C, maybe no, I got a B. Got a B in my Spanish-speaking. But then I only had like 6 months to learn Spanish, so that might be one of the reasons why. I've got Discord pinging away in the background as well. Alex wants me to play Siege after this, so he's online waiting now. So yeah, there's another few points where the London Underground and the Metropolitan line and Chiltern Mainline, not the actual Chiltern Mainline, but the branch up to Amersham. That's also, they run on the same system. That's a really unique thing actually in the UK, going back to one of your earlier questions, James, because the Chiltern turbos that run on that section of line have to be fitted with London Underground style tripcocks. And to my knowledge, that is actually maybe on the Great Western Line as well. It might just be all the diesel turbos have tripcocks, but nowhere else on the network is that a thing. I mean physical rail connections. The London Overground and Bakerloo line, they run on the same tracks. And same with London Overground and the District line out west. And then same with the Metropolitan line and Chiltern trains. They run on the same tracks. So I think they're all London Underground branded stations. But Overground trains and Chiltern trains also stop at those respective stations. So that is quite a unique thing. Doesn't happen very often. There aren't many places. There's also up in Sunderland, the Newcastle Tyne and Wear Metro tracks. The trains share tracks with National Rail trains at Sunderland, so you can have a metro train in the platform. I'm trying to remember how the configuration is. They're like end-to-end kind of things, but it's not like on Merseyrail where it connects, where there's like buffers in between. This is literally end-to-end. You'll have a metro train, and then like 20 feet away you'll have what used to be an HST, which is now going to be like a Class 800. It's a very rare thing. My dad speaks 5 languages: English, Portuguese, Spanish, French and Italian. This is when I know that the English education system needs a bit of a revamp, because my cousin's wife is Swiss. She's from Switzerland. She learnt to speak, I think it was 4 languages when she was at school: German, English, Italian and French. And since then, because she's an air stewardess, so she's learnt more languages for where she flies to. I can't do that. Like, I don't think my brain has the power to do that. I have a lot of respect for people that learn new languages like that. Not so much because as a girl I went to school with who just wanted to learn Japanese. Like, she had no intention of ever going to Japan. She just wanted to learn Japanese. Those are the ones where I kind of think, okay, hipster. But the rest of the time, if you're going to work somewhere for a year, for example, and then you learn the language before you go, I have a lot of respect for people that do that. Or if you work for a company that is, let's say, Korean, for example, and you have to deal with a lot of your colleagues in Korea, if you then learn to speak Korean to make your conversations a little bit easier, that's a really respectful thing to do. I have a lot of admiration for people that do that. It's scientifically proven that the brain can learn more things at a younger age. So that's why schools in the UK, for example, should teach kids multiple languages, because at that age they're more susceptible to learning those languages. But you're definitely right, you learn by doing. So when I learnt French, we went on a trip to France, and apart from when I was talking to my friends, obviously, I pretty much spoke French the entire time I was there, and that helped me learn. And actually, again, this might sound a bit wrong, but when you're out in the wild and you have to speak the language, you learn how to speak it better than when you're at school. Because when you're at school, it's all clinical and quite forensic, and you sound things out. Whereas when you're in France and you're talking to a native French speaker, they speak French how they were taught to speak French, and then it's our job as learners to pick up on how they actually pronounce words. It's kind of like when you do your driving test. You learn to drive, in inverted commas, whilst you're doing your learner's permit, and then as soon as you pass your test, you then get taken out and are taught how to actually drive. Or at least I was. Probably shouldn't say that too loud, but shush. It's our little secret. There's a connection at Wimbledon, and one train into Waterloo runs over it and back onto National Rail at Putney. Oh, they might be separate platforms at Wimbledon then. It might be Richmond I was thinking of. There's definitely a station on the western end of the District Line and London Overground where they share tracks. Because I think that was the first time I'd experienced it. It must be Wimbledon. Because I went to see... Again, I learned most of this stuff from going to football matches. I went to see Steamers play Wimbledon. And I'm sure that was when we got an overground train back up to Highbury and Islington to get the train home. I think that was it. I might be wrong. What would you consider the most efficient rail service in OpenTTD and in real life? In real life, probably Southeastern High Speed, because there's literally nothing. Unless there's a power outage, there's nothing that will stop those trains from running. Once you get onto the third rail network, particularly during winter when it's icy, there's a lot of issues there. But the stretch between Ashford and St Pancras is probably the most efficient in the whole of the UK. I can't remember ever getting on a train when I used to go down to Canterbury to visit my brother at uni. I can't remember ever getting on a train from St Pancras that left late. Some of them left early. That's how good it was. Which again, you're not really supposed to do that, but they got away with it somehow. The train would leave like a minute and a half early. And this kind of goes back to my argument of one of the reasons why South West trains get a bad run, or South Western Railway as they're called now, why they got a bad run was a lot of the faults and the delays were nothing to do with them. It would be like a Thameslink train that's been held up somewhere, or a Southern train, or a Southeastern train. And because they share tracks, they end up getting delayed as well, because you can't phase one train through another. It's physically impossible. So a lot of people were blaming South Western Railway, but all of their tracks, pretty much from Clapham Junction onwards, are shared. It's only the line in and out of Waterloo that is only South Western Railway. And even then, it's the most congested section of railway in the whole of the UK. Waterloo Station is the busiest station in all of England, Scotland and Wales. So I just think when you look at the data like that, it becomes very clear that the wrong people were being blamed for what was happening. But the franchise has changed now, so the new people have magically promised that problem will be solved, and I have every inclination that they have no idea how they're going to solve it, but they've said it now, so they're going to have to do it. Otherwise, they're going to be on the block. Richmond. Is it at Richmond? Richmond to Gunnersbury. Okay, that might have been what it was then. Yeah, Southwest London is also a bit of a an enigma for me when it comes to getting the right train. I just go on the app and it tells me what train I need to get to wherever it is I need to go. The annoying thing is I'm good at reading maps. So it's not like I can't navigate my way around, but sometimes you just don't have the time or your mind's elsewhere. Normally on those days I'm just thinking about, can Steamage get 3 points, which on recent results the answer is normally no. Why is your kitchen being remodeled? Because my family wanted a new kitchen. There's no secret answer to that. it's that literal. Just wanted a new kitchen. Our old kitchen is, or was, like 10-15 years old. So it was time for a change. Plus, my mother's one of these people. She handpicks a kitchen, waits for it to get fitted, and then goes around finding everything wrong with it. So she never liked the old kitchen. I liked it. I thought it was really nice. But it's not my house, so it's not my call to make. So yeah, it's been awful having this kitchen done, and I keep getting told it'll be worth it. And the jury's out on that one. But we'll see. You never know. I might be wrong. Sorry, good people of Trinningwell. You're getting a lovely news station as compensation for this, I promise. Any other parts of my house that are being remodeled? We had the spare room done last month, and I think that's it after that, because everything else is still relatively new. But I'll say new. 10 years. Within the last 10 years, this stuff's been done. So I'm hoping the next time something big like this happens, I'll have moved out and it's not my problem to deal with. But because house prices where I live in the southeast of England are excruciatingly high, I'm coming up to 30 and I'm still living in the family home. That's the economy for you. I'm certainly not letting anyone touch my room. I like my room the way it is. I've got everything just how I like it. I've just got what Ben said in the Facebook chat. Because I started my stream late. Honestly, people sitting there tapping their watches. And yet, I guarantee, a couple of years ago, if I'd started this stream and did a big fanfare about, you know, heads up, 7 PM, big stream coming, no one will turn up until like 9:30. Whereas now, everyone waits for me. Yeah, this kitchen thing, it's been an absolute nightmare because the electrician was supposed to have come the other day to wire in the new oven and stuff like that. And then the electrician did actually come, but he found out that the circuit board of our house, we have one more electronic appliance than we used to have, and the circuit board on our house had no more free slots. So we've had to disconnect something in order to be able to reconnect the kitchen so that we can use it. But I'm trying to remember the exact specifics. The worktop that we're getting is going to be made out of granite, and they don't just produce a worktop off site and then bring it. They measure that, they build the kitchen first, they put all the units and stuff in, and then they measure it on site, and then they go away and cut the granite. So that was supposed to have been done a couple of days ago. I think it actually got done today because the guys who were supposed to do it didn't turn up. So our entire project, as it were, is like a week and a half behind schedule now, and it was supposed to take 2 weeks, and it's now looking likely that it's going to take 4 weeks. But at one point, because it was only late in the day that we came up with the idea of disconnecting something in order to be able to reconnect the electrics to get that working. Originally they were telling us they wouldn't be able to do that until after Christmas. So that's what, 8 weeks? And that's just not great. What is the biggest real-life bulldozing slash demolishing that has occurred to make way for a UK rail project? I think you have to go a long way back. St Pancras, when St Pancras was first built. Any station in London, actually, when it was first built back in Victorian times and before, they would just buy people's houses off whoever owned them, because back then pretty much no one in London owned their own house. They would just buy the house off the landowner and then evict whoever lived there, and then knock the whole lot down and build a railway station. Again, London Underground. George will know the answer to this. I can't remember the name of the street. Is it Leinster Gardens? There's a house on the Circle Line where it used to be a house, but then when they built the Circle Line, they knocked down the house to build the Circle Line directly behind it. But because it's in the middle of Kensington, they didn't just want to have this huge hole in the ground with trains rattling by, so they built a facade for a house. And actually, if you've ever watched Sherlock, there's a scene where Sherlock meets up with Mary Watson in this fake house, and that's the one. That's Leinster Gardens. It doesn't actually have a door in real life. I think they've like mocked up a replica for that bit. And then there's like a wedge-shaped house near South Kensington, I believe. South Kensington Tube Station. So there's a few like that. High Speed 2. There's going to be a few places that people might have to get relocated, hopefully with minimal impact. I don't like to see that kind of thing, in all honesty. Even though I'm currently driving a bulldozer straight through the middle of a town here, in real life I don't like to see it happen. Yeah, Leinster Gardens. I think it's number 23, Leinster Gardens. You can go visit it. Obviously be respectful to those that live there. It's just one of those fascinating things. It's a real sort of look at the history of London. Because can you imagine these days if they just bulldozed someone's house and built a replica facade? I don't think they'd do that now. They'd probably like do a cut and cover type thing. People always assume that cut and cover is something that's outdated now. It's not really. Obviously we've got tube tunnel boring machines and things like that, but cut and cover is still very much a thing. It's more modernised now. Like they'll build a station in a concrete box, a bit like Stratford International. Stratford International is technically a cut and cover type station, because one day they'll build on top of it, and then it will become a cut and cover station. Whereas at the moment it's just a big, ugly concrete box in the middle of a hole in the centre of Stratford. Wow. Our XVI Facebook chat, it's not the quietest by any means, but always between 7 PM and 9 PM on a Thursday, everyone just wants to talk. It's the one time of the week where I can't actually reply. 23 and 24. There we go. Oh wow, Alex is actually playing Terrorist Hunt on Siege. That's a very rare thing. How far away are we from... Aha! Okay, so over here, maybe just after Flood Town, we'll build the loop going round. Maybe here. Trying to think of any other examples of huge demolition, because these days they try and be less impactful. So High Speed 1, for example, when they dug that under London, I bet half the people living in East London weren't even aware of the fact there was a boring machine going under their house. For Crossrail, they had a few things set up to minimize the impact. They had like measuring devices on buildings. They still do actually. If you can go to, it's not to do with Crossrail now, but if you go to Bank Station, again I've learnt this from a Jeff Marshall video. If you go to Bank Station, they're doing some rework there. They might have moved it by now actually, because this was a little while ago in the video. But they have little like theodolite reflective surfaces. They're measuring the impact of the tunneling underneath, and if the building moves too much, then they'll have to shore it up. It's quite an interesting subject. Perhaps not for everyone, but it is for me. I find it quite interesting. Any plans to get the just released Transport Fever 2? Currently, no. I have a feeling it's one of those games where it fits my channel niche perfectly, but then so did Transport Fever, and I made videos on that and no one watched them, and I made videos on Train Fever and no one watched them. So you can you get the theme. I have a feeling there's too many people already doing it, and it's that usual thing that pisses me off. Of obviously you want to get your game out there, so you contact content creators who do vaguely similar types of videos, and they'll do sponsored videos for as long as the money's rolling in, and then they'll stop. So I've seen a few tweets this week from creators that I follow saying, you know, Transport Fever 2, here it is, let's play it. And I know for a fact that that is the only video they'll ever make on that game. And I find that annoying. Like with XVI, I'm in charge of marketing. That's my job, digital promotions and marketing director, I'll have you know. But like my strategy is to actually find people who won't just play the game once and never again, but will actually play it continuously. And I think that's a smarter way of doing it, because you want something that will attract a longer lasting audience rather than just something that's a quick dump and run. Yeah, it's not released till next month. I thought it was released this week because I saw so many people making videos on it, but you're right, it's not. It's not released for another however long it is till the 11th. 13 days, 14 days, 15 days I think. So there's that. Right, we'll signal you. We'll signal you. We haven't built any of the stations yet. We'll do that last. So this line is now going to continue right up to somewhere around here, and then it will turn south and it will go through Treadhead Cross. It will skip Nenningville. It will come under the hill here, and then it will join up with actually it might come in. Okay, no, I have a different plan. I think this station here at Pruntford is going to have some other platforms that join up on this side. So this last platform that we have here might get cut back, or it might get demolished completely. I don't know though. I liked the idea of having like these 4 tracks having their own little thing. Kind of localizes it a bit more, because then you can get commuter trains from Pruntford direct to Bahecity. Yeah, I like that idea. Something like that. And then this will run it along here, so we got some room to put waypoints in, and then we'll turn it north. So I think here, and then from here we'll go this way. And yeah, we're not going to be building tunnels here, so it's going to be a big blot on the landscape. We will fill this with trees and stuff. It would be nice. That's an idea for a patch for OpenTTD, diagonal tunnels. But I really don't think that would ever actually be possible in the game. There we go. And then we'll go via Treadhead Cross and west until we join up with the line over here. and then this little stretch I can pop back in. Yeah, there we are. I will build this little bit in as well, just to make sure. So trains from Bahecity can only use these 4 platforms here at Pruntford. Keep coming up with name ideas, by the way, for Pruntford and for the station down here that I've already forgotten the name of, Tondington. Keep coming up with ideas. So the plan to end this stream now is we're going to finish this little connection here, do the signalling, build some stations, and that should take us up to 9 o'clock. And then we have got a plan for next week as well, which is to try and sort out the high-speed network. And I have an idea. I have an idea for that. There's a new GRF that I never knew existed until recently called BR Tracks. And what I want to do is a little bit of digging and a little bit of experimenting to find out if it's compatible with the tracks that I've already got. Because I don't really want to lose these tracks. Like, I don't want it to be a direct replacement, because then I have to redo all the trains, which is going to be a nightmare. So if I can add it to the to the existing list of tracks that I've got, because I think it's 32 different types of track you can have now, and I've only got like 7 or 8. So if I can add all those in, and then do a gradual switch over. The reason I want to use BR Tracks is because it has, like new tracks, it has different types of track with different speed limits, which will be a big help when it comes to the high speed issue. So I'm definitely going to look into that. How on earth am I going to get this line? I think I might go north here, around Flaningville, and then bend around. Might come through to Ludham here at grade, because then we're at the right height. We're at the right height here, but are we at the right height here? Obviously we're going to have to go up a slope. Does anyone use BR Tracks, by the way? Can you tell me what it's like? Because I'm assuming it's just new tracks but designed for the BR trains. Because I used to have new tracks. Again, if anyone remembers the old Jeffries network, we had new tracks for a little while on this map, but there was something to do with the third rail. It would only let me use the metro tracks and not the actual third rail tracks for all the BR trains. So I had metro tracks everywhere, which just looked awful. Whereas now I've got third rail tracks everywhere, which, I mean, it's not great, but it's not as bad. It was a lot worse. But yeah, my plan for high speed, and I know I've said this before, is to just have one waypoint to speed trains up and then several to slow them down. That should work. In theory, that should work. What's the hardest class you ever took in high school or college, and why? I've told this story before, but a lot of my GCSEs were experimental. So I took French a year, 2 years, well, started it 2 years early, took the exams a year early, and then did Spanish for a year. I think the hardest, I mean, Spanish was hard because we had to learn it in such a short space of time. But I think maths and physics were always going to be the hardest. Quantum physics, for example, is very tricky because I like learning by doing, and quantum physics there isn't much you can do because it's all theoretical. Like, I can't just go to a particle accelerator and witness the Higgs boson myself. Although I have been to CERN. I went to see actually I was at the Large Hadron Collider at CERN the day they switched it on for the first time. So that was quite a nice piece of history. Although I don't think they told us that while we were there. It was afterwards that we found out they'd actually switched it on. Don't know whether they were trying to hide it or something. I don't know. Anyway, so physics is quite hard. Experimental physics, theoretical physics is quite hard. or it was for me. A lot of the engineering stuff as well. Like working in workshops, I can do no problem. Even relatively advanced mathematics, I can get my head around no problem when I'm actually doing it. But learning it, I always found hard. Like I used to have 4-hour maths lectures first thing on a Monday morning, 8 p.m. 8 p.m. No, 9 p.m. till 1. 9 a.m. till 1 p.m. I knew I got something wrong there. And it was all full on. Like you sit down, you open your book, and then you're just writing down equations. You're not actually learning anything. So then when it came to do actual problems in a book, which we had to do every week as part of our tutorials, didn't have a clue where to start. And that cost me. That cost me quite big. So that was hard. That was hard for the wrong reasons, rather than... It wasn't hard because it was challenging, it was hard because the system was bad. The system for teaching it was bad, because the guy who taught us also wrote the book that we had to do the problems from. So he knew the book back to front. Obviously he wrote it. But we didn't. So we struggled to keep up with him. He would fly through things. The only time he ever stopped was to yell at someone for being late because they disrupted his lesson, even though the only real disruption was him stopping the lesson to yell at the guy for being late. It was that kind of uni. But yeah, besides that, I don't think there was too much. What about you guys? What kind of things did you struggle with at school? I always found it disappointing that I found maths at uni to be hard, because maths was my best subject at school. I'd still say now maths is one of my best subjects, but I have less confidence in my maths abilities now. But I like, as part of the enterprise thing that I do at my old uni, we did a whole thing on cash flow, and you know, the whole way through we were working out how much would this cost, how much would that cost, and the guy Steve who was asking us the questions on the board, he kept saying, you know, if you add interest here, how much will it cost? And I knew the answer straight away. So I know I can still do it. It's just not all the time. And then I get complacent, I think is the right word, and then I make a mistake. So I'll get the first couple of questions right, and I'll be like, hey, I have still got it. And then the third question I'll get wrong. And it's not because I can't do it, it's because I get cocky. It's one of my major character flaws. I do that on Siege as well. I get a couple of kills and I get cocky, and then I get my arse handed to me. Did better at maths than English, but did well at media and IT and science. Oh yeah, ICT. I used to enjoy ICT. Good subject. Terrible teachers I had at school, but the actual subject is good. I like computers. I'm a mechanical engineer at heart, but I don't mind computers. The only reason I don't like... So I had problems with my editing software this week, and I might as well bitch and moan about it now. Videos wouldn't export. And by that I mean some got stuck at 0%, which is bad. Some got all the way through to 100% and then got stuck, which is worse. Because whatever you do at that point, if you cancel the render, even if you have a fully completed video file, or what looks like a fully completed video file, if you cancel the render, the file gets corrupted, so you can't watch the video, which is bad, because then it means you can't upload it to YouTube. So I've spent the best part of about 30 hours this week trying to fix that problem, to no avail. And last week, because I had problems with the XUI podcast last week as well, not rendering properly. And what I hate about Adobe is there's no error messages. It doesn't tell you that there's an error. It just stops. And then it's like your job. It's like, come on, Columbo, figure this out. And I don't know. Like, I can do basic coding, but I can't go into the matrix and say for sure, oh, this is a such and such problem. So I don't know what's wrong with it. I still don't fully know why it didn't work. I've managed to get it to work since, and I have some theories, but I've got no concrete proof. So I have no idea. But yeah, it meant videos couldn't be uploaded this week. I was trying to render some Outer Worlds videos. What's the biggest research project you had to do, and why? That's kind of a two-pronged thing. My final year project at uni, because I had to learn all the coding, because apparently I wasn't taught it in my lectures, which was a nice waste of money. So there was that. And then there was also my dissertation, because I had to do a lot of research. I already knew a lot of this stuff, because I wrote my dissertation on YouTube and monetization, and what went wrong there. Because you might have heard of something called the adpocalypse, which kind of was a thing and kind of wasn't. Depends on your viewpoint. So I did my dissertation on that, and I had to do a lot of research into the finances of YouTube and all that kind of thing. I actually enjoyed that. A lot of people wouldn't enjoy that kind of thing, but because it's my industry, I chose to write about what I was already doing. So I don't think I quoted myself. I did ask if I was allowed to, and I was told that I could, as long as it was vaguely relevant to the topic. So I was considering quoting myself on something, because there was something I'd said in a video or a stream that I liked and I wanted to use it, but I don't think I actually used it in the end. But yeah, I spent like 6 to 8 months, because I already knew before my final year what I was going to do my dissertation on. So I spent about 6 to 8 months researching that, plus I was living it every day. My project was a different thing. Like that took 4 months of solid work, and again, you'll know that if you watch my videos, because I whined about it quite a lot. I hated that project so much. It was not my best project. Evening, Tom. How is our good friend Unai? Are Arsenal winning? Isn't Xhaka supposed to be playing as well? He's in the squad. 1, 2, 3, and I'm just going to do this. It's the wrong one. Actually, I'm going to do this one, because then if I do Ireland, that. There we go. What's the biggest number of simultaneous YouTube viewers you ever had at once? Well, on a stream, 15, I think, a couple of weeks ago. Might have even got up to 20. On Twitch, I had like 30 people watch one of my Space Engineers streams, and that was back in the day where if you all you had to do was watch the stream and you were invited to join. So at one point I had like 25 people on the server at once, and the lag was insane. He's taken one sideshow bob off for another, and it's currently 0-0 still. Oh, let me guess which one. Because it's Europa League, I'm going to have a feeling that Guendouzi started and David Luiz came on. But then why would David Luiz come on as a substitute if it's 0-0? Must be Guendouzi came on, David Luiz went off. That's my prediction. I like David Luiz. I do think he gets a hard rap. He's not the worst defender in the world. And Arsenal don't win enough free kicks for him to actually show off what he can do. Okay, there's that station done. Don't need one down here. So what we've got to do now is build the stations on this section of the line. Xhaka is playing. What was the reception? It's Louise with a Z, Tom. You know this. What was the reception for Xhaka? Do you know what? I might go single-sided platforms for this little section here. Or at least for this station. 1, 2, 3. We'll go slightly modern for this. Do you like Ajax in the Champions League? I have no problem with Ajax. I like what Ajax do as a football club. I like the fact they're focused on youth. I like the fact that they're getting ex-players in as director of football as well. Normally I'm against that kind of thing, but they've got a really good setup at Ajax. You can see what they're trying to do, and you can never fault that. I really hope they go on and do well over the next few years. I mean, when I was a kid, Ajax were huge, and then they had that big decline. So it'd be nice to see them back. They got a fantastic stadium as well. I remember seeing it while we were in Amsterdam. I think we went past it on the train on the way to Schiphol. It's a huge stadium. Very impressive. Yeah, I think we'll go modern shelters again. This line's going to be different because it's kind of one of the newest on the network. One 0 Aubameyang. Nice. Yeah, I'd rather Ajax got to the final than Spurs. I hate Spurs. Apologies to any Tottenham fans, but your club is awful. I think actually one of my problems with Spurs is the fans. They're just smug. They're smug for no reason. They finish above Arsenal for like 2 years in a row and suddenly they think they're the best team in North London. That's not really how history works. It's also not how averages work. You having a stroke, Tom? What is that? Grammar? Alright, we've got a station here as well. Yeah, we're coming towards the end of the stream now, guys. So if you have any more questions or name suggestions or anything like that, now is the time to suggest them, or say them, or ask them, or do them, depending on what it might be. Not necessarily in that order either. So I'm pretty much going to be finishing these stations and then just wrapping up. Also, if anyone does have any advice on new GRFs and stuff like that, please do get in touch. You can comment below this video, or you can contact me on Discord or Reddit. Anything like that is fine. Hit enter instead of apostrophe. Oh yeah, I do that all the time actually. I do that all the time. My grammar on keyboards is way worse than my grammar in real life, I can assure you. Okay, I think we're done with this line. Built all the other stations, didn't we? Yep. Built all the ones here, all the way up to the station over here, which I've already forgotten the name of, because I'm good like that. Ridingley Market, that's the one. So, slow trains run on the outside of fast trains here. I might actually change that so that slow trains run on the right-hand side, because then when you get to Ridingley Market, it makes a lot more sense to then branch off onto this line towards Bruntford. Is there going to be a South Coast franchise? Yeah, I thought you had this on your PowerPoint already. So, this is one of the things I noticed with your PowerPoint, George, was you kind of merged franchises together, or you blurred the lines a little bit. So the Transrapid is separate to High Speed. They're two separate franchises, whereas you had them down as one whole franchise. And I think also you've got some of the Guard City Southeastern and then just the Southeastern services mixed up. So Guard City Southeastern has no services between Guard City and Bar City, whereas Southeastern has all the express and semi-fast services between Bar City Central and Guard City St Mark. But Southeastern only goes up as far as Denston and Tarnway and Funston, whereas on your PowerPoint you had some other services going from Guard City St Mark down to like Tuningly Estelle, for example. They're not Southeastern services, they are Guard City Southeastern services. There is a difference between them. Also, there was another one, I've forgotten what it was. But yeah, there will be a South Coast franchise. So Southeastern will still run between Bar City and Bruntford. But there's no trains currently planned at all to run between Guard City and Plenborough, apart from the high speed ones. So there's no Southeastern or Guard City Southeastern trains that will run between Guard City St Mark and Plenborough. There will be some trains that run between Munfingford and Plenborough, but that'll just be Southern. It won't be Southeastern. Southeastern really is limited, kind of like Bar City is its central hub. Where am I? Bar City Central and all these stations here will be its central hub. So it will run up to Denston, it will run up to Tarnway and Funston, it will run up to Waterside, it will also go to... was it Rialta? Hang on. Lenway Rialta? The one where we built the loop. Where am I going? Yeah, this is the right one. The one where we built the loop from Drentbourne up and round. Down here. Oh, this is Tuningly. So Lenway Rialta is Guard City Southeastern. Tuningly Estelle is Guard City Southeastern and Southeastern. And then yeah, down to Pruntford. So there is a difference. If you're not sure, ask me, because I'll be able to tell you. Because even I'm tweaking things as I'm going along, because I'm realizing that some of the geographical limits that I've set myself, I've kind of broken here and there. So I'm trying to rein it back in again. But yeah, if anyone, not just George, if anyone's unsure, ask me. I'm happy to tell you. But yeah, that does it for this week. So no one else seems to have any more questions or anything. So I'm going to save the game. And I'm going to start wrapping up. Those of you who have downloaded my map, just for this week, set up a new save. As in, don't start a new map, but save what you're currently doing and then save again with a different name. Because I want you to do a little experiment for me. I want you just to run the game. Unpause it, let it run, and see if you get the same crash that I do. Because if it's only me getting it, then that tells me I might be able to fix it. Whereas if everyone's getting it, then I know that it's a problem with the save file. And it's probably going to be unfixable, and I'm just going to have to put up with it. But it really annoys me. It's like every 2 hours on average I'll have that crash, and then I'll have to send all the trains to the depot to get serviced, let them come out of their own accord again, and then it might run for like 2-3 hours, and then it'll crash again. And I really don't want to have to keep sending trains for servicing, particularly this one up here, which you can't really see, but this one here is the cross-region train that we set up last week, and it did one run, but I like to let them do 2 runs now, so I can get a better idea as to how long it takes before I flood the train, flood the service with loads of trains. And because it keeps crashing on its second run through, I've had to send it for servicing, which now means it's technically going to be on its 3rd or 4th run through by the time I actually get the data I'm looking for. So, like I said, let me know. Let me know on Discord. That'd be the best place to do it, because then I'll be able to reply straight away. But if you're having any crashes still, like I am, then maybe we can all put in a bug report. One of the things I am worried about is because I've added new GRFs into the save since I started it, and I know that voids the warranty, as it were. But because I now know what file it is that's creating the error, and I now know which line of the code it is that's creating the error, I'm not sure that adding new GRFs to the save is what's causing this crash. I think it's something different. And I know in the past I actually asked Lieutenant Joker about it, sent him the save file, and he fixed it for me. But that was the old Majeffries network, not this map. It was the map before. And he did fix the problem. It stopped crashing. So maybe I've caused this, maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, let me know. As I say, let me know. And we'll try and fix it all together, because I don't want to leave it unfixed. I'd like to fix it if possible. Yeah, still no one has any questions or comments or anything, so I'm going to wrap things up. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. Thank you for the 2 people that have liked the stream. That's always appreciated, seeing the like count go up whilst I'm streaming. I think we had up to 12 viewers or something earlier on as well, which is insanely high, so thank you everyone who has come in and watched. Thank you also everyone for chatting, for Tom, George, Just Having Fun, Ben, James, Chewin Schmitz, Frank. I think that was everyone this week. Apologies if I have missed anyone out. No, I think that's everyone. I will try and start the stream on time next week, 7 PM on the dot, or 5:2 like I used to do. But I'll let you know about that. But yeah, thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and of course you're enjoying the series. Drop some comments down below with feedback, ideas, all that kind of good thing. And again, let me know about the crashing. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. 62% of my videos are watched by non-subscribers. So let's try and get that down closer to 50. That'd be awesome. No problem. Thanks for coming in and watching. The stream is good because you guys are here. That's the simple thing. So the more people we have chatting, the more fun the stream will be. So if that's not an advert for getting more people to watch, I don't know what is. Where was I? I was in my spiel, wasn't I? Oh yeah, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, thank you guys for your continued... If you have already subscribed to the channel, thank you guys for your continued support. And yeah, until next time, until next week, see you soon.